On this episode of ResiWeek, Tabatha OConnor is named the global president and CEO of CEDIA. The HDMI 2.1 spec is out, and video advancements shown at CES. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek episode 104, Proven Technology.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Harman International.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Stephen Bronner. He is the president of Pro Audio Georgia. You can tell he's in Georgia because he has short sleeves on and isn't dealing with a foot of snow as I am right now. How are you?
Well, not this week. Last week we were in a foot of snow, and then the week before it was sunny, and the week before that we were in snow. So welcome to Georgia, where our weather is schizophrenic. So I am doing absolutely amazing in the cab of my truck today, out on these busy roads trying to scratch out a living, stopping to talk to you guys.
You're not actually driving though, right? Just to be clear.
Whoa! Oh, yeah, no, I'm actually sitting still.
Fantastic. And we also have with us today Frank Stearns. He is the VP of Custom Integration at Sony. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thanks. How about yourself?
We are doing fantastic. We have a great show today. We're going to kick it off with a story that came out today at 10:45 on the dot. Tabatha OConnor has been named the CEO Global President, the CEDIA Global President and CEO. That came out today. That was happened over this past week's board meetings at CEDIA headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana. Fantastic stuff. One, I am going to preface this with the fact that I am a member of the board, but not speaking on behalf of the board, just as your friendly host of ResiWeek for AVNation. Stephen, I want to start with you on this. This is fantastic news. They have had Tabatha in this position as acting CEO for the past 7 months or so since the moving on of their previous CEO. And through that, she has really pushed a lot of things forward that had kind of been started, but she maintained them and continued to really grow some of those changes that are happening in the industry. What does it mean for CEDIA, and as a CEDIA member, as you are, as a Sony, what does it mean to have someone permanent in that position, who knows the industry? She's been with CEDIA since 2002, I believe. What does it mean to have someone in that role officially, finally, again, after having an acting CEO?
I don't think it matters as far as that goes. I mean, we had an acting CEO, so I mean, if you're going to play the part, you might as well get the pay, right? I don't think that the important thing here is that she is now full-time CEO. I think the important thing is that she is CEO. And I say that because there's a huge movement in our industry right now for the women in AV, the women in Avixa, there's women in Sony TVs. I'm not sure, but there's all these movements, and I think it goes a long way for our industry to show how supportive we are to have a strong, educated woman that's been in the job. She's performed. She's held her own. She didn't need any special treatment. She stood on her own 2 feet. She earned this position. And as far as I can tell with CEDIA, things are going in a great positive direction. So I understand this is her first year, and I think that she's doing a great job. I look forward to seeing what direction CEDIA takes in the future. But like I said, I don't think the biggest news is that she's now officially CEO. I think the biggest news is that with all the focus on women in different parts of our industry, I think that it's important that it be recognized that we have a woman at the top of our industry, at the top of our trade, of our organization, which, to me is critically important. I'm a huge supporter of CEDIA, and will continue to be. So that's my take on it.
Very good. Frank, now that we have someone permanently in place, and they don't need to go through that, job search, if you will, of trying to recruit and find someone to come in and potentially take that role. Now that that's out of the way, moving forward as CEDIA continues to shift, what does this mean for the kind of, dare I say, acceleration of helping CEDIA move past the sale of the show and some of the other changes that happened in the past 12 months?
Well, first of all, I think it's fantastic that she's been announced as the permanent global president and CEO. I think it's really important for CEDIA as an organization that the uncertainty surrounding Vin Bruno's departure and who's going to become president, CEO is now done. And that allows the organization to move forward with certainty with a known leader who can set an agenda and get things moving again. So for me personally, and a lot of people I've talked to regarding CEDIA, the past 7 or 8 months of not knowing who was in charge or who was going to be in charge or what direction the organization was going to take wasn't really good. And so then I'm glad, first of all, that that's settled and we're moving forward. In terms of the organization, and I'm a founding member of CEDIA, and now I've worked with 3 companies that were founding members of CEDIA. So I've been to, I think, every CEDIA show and the original organization meetings in 88 or 89 and the 10th at Amelia Island. I have always wanted to see CEDIA as a business development organization to promote the concept of integrated electronics and the lifestyle, to educate and train dealers, to lobby for laws, to create curriculum at trade schools, to get more and more installers, programmers, system designers, and most importantly, to promote the benefits of a custom installed and designed electronic system, kind of like, the California Milk Board, it's got milk. I want to see CEDIA, you got in-wall speakers and a network. So I'm hoping that the organization, now that it's got permanent leadership, gets on that track and gets going and makes up some lost time.
Very true. And I think you're right. That's really the key, is they're transforming from an organization that really was devoted to running the trade show to one that is pushing education and pushing education strongly. So we all look forward to what Tabatha is able to do with that. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to a story that comes to us from CE Pro. Don't get too psyched for 48 gigabits per second in the new HDMI 2.1 spec because, well, it is going to take some time. It will be painfully slow. If you've been following this, they announced the new spec way back in the day at CES 2017. And last month, the original spec was finally released. Now, what's changing with this is obviously they're moving the bandwidth up to 48 gigabit per second above the 18 gigabits per second that was in HDMI 2.1. And again, you can read all into that. What I wanted to get into is, and Frank, I want to start with you on this. As manufacturers have been essentially starting to kind of utilize this spec a little bit and planning to utilize this spec in the future, what does it mean when we look at how long it's going to take for these products to get certified? Like, is this something that you guys dramatically build into your product deployment, or do you know that it's coming and you're able to make it happen?
Let me give you a qualified answer. And the reason I might be hesitating a little bit is in my role at Sony, I'm not involved directly in the product development and certainly not in the engineering. All of that's done out of Tokyo with excellent engineers.
When I don't mean specifically at Sony, I just mean manufacturers in general.
Yeah. Well, in my previous job at Niles, I was obviously responsible as COO and president for all the product development. So I've got a reasonable amount of knowledge of how these things work. And frankly, the key is infrastructure. It's a matter of the companies that provide the chips, the integrated circuits that would process HDMI 2.0 or 2.1, and when exactly in their life cycle that proven chips would be available, and then the cost of those chips. And I don't know the roadmap from the chip providers on HDMI, although now that the spec is done, I'm sure that everyone is scrambling, and as soon as it's possible, there will be chips in the marketplace. And once those chips are available, they'll be incorporated into products. I'm on the audio board at CTA, not the video board, so I've got some visibility into audio specifications more so than video specifications. But I know that Sony is on the video board and part of the people that draft those specifications. So you can be sure that companies, big companies like Sony or others, know exactly when in the product life cycle that these products will come based on their part suppliers and when the parts will be available to make the products.
Very good.
So it's pretty well known. It's just not well known to me personally today.
Very good. Stephen, I wanted to ask you this as the integrator on the call today. When this stuff gets announced, we get excited. Hopefully some of our clients will potentially get excited. They'll see it and really want it. And this is going to lead into kind of our next story, but how do integrators deal with the potential for this new spec to finally come online, right? It just got announced. It just got finalized. We may not see product from like a display side of things for a couple months down the road, let alone cables and interconnects and all the trickle down devices that we need to make this spec happen, not to mention testing and testing and verifying in the field. How long does an integrator just kind of sit on the sidelines before they start to actually get excited and get after this?
70% of our industry won't even know this is coming until 2020. So this is for the 30% of us that are paying attention, and it really matters. This is huge news. This is massive news. And I love having someone from Sony on here because I think as an industry, we can all agree that if a new video format is coming out with a bigger, better picture, Sony's probably going to be the first one to the line on that one. So let's go forward from there. My biggest concern is that we still have integrators that are pulling Cat 5. I want to stress the fact that anyone who's listening to this broadcast, if you're pulling Cat 5, go to the corner. You're in timeout. So you should, we stopped pulling Cat 5 over 2 years ago. We were pulling Category 6, and now it's going to require fiber because as someone who has an extensive electrical theory background and education in electronics, I will tell you that if you're going to tell me you're going to compress an image and get it 48 gigs over copper, no thank you. I'll pass. I don't need that fire hazard. So I'm looking forward to fiber optic distribution becoming more affordable. That is where this is going to me. When I look at this and the guys that I'm talking to in the industry that are also paying attention, we're all waiting for fiber optic distribution to become more widespread, more affordable. It should no longer be an executive product. Fiber optic, you've got Clearline out there that makes an amazing fiber optic product that you can tie in a knot. There's great fiber out there. There's a lot of equipment. So I think the important development here is finally maybe we can get people to run the right wire because, pulling Cat 5's got to go. They're no longer going to be able to do it. So now they're going to try it on Cat 6, and Cat 6 at 48 gig signal is going to be tough. So I'm looking forward to the development of fiber technologies. 8K is not really, and I know people are going to hear this and go, but I have this client who owns 18 jets and 4 houses and they want it. But the truth is that 8K is not a residential product.
So hold on. They have 4 houses, but 18 jets?
18 jets, yeah. Yeah, that's how that works.
But only 4 houses.
Yeah.
Interesting.
John Travolta's like that. He has a house surrounded by airstrips. So, but no, seriously, that's my thing is the truth is 8K will never be a residential product. not until it's cheaper than 720 is right now. And the reason why is that if you do the math, anybody who has an ISF or I'm drawing a blank right now on the video calibration, Dolby. No, that's audio. Anyway, THX. Anyone who has a THX or ISF certification, they can tell you they've been through the math, they've been through the physics of what the human eye can see and all this stuff. 8K at the size screen that it would take for 8K to be an advantage will never fit in 99% of residences. It's just not going to happen. These are theater screens that we would be using, stuff like that. So with that being said, I'm excited about 8K because I think it's cool to be pushing the envelope, but at some point you get into diminishing returns, and I'm more excited about the reciprocal technology that will develop around it. Like I said, the HDMI cables, the transmissions, all the transmission cables, fiber optic, things like that. I just don't, that excites me. You know, they say some people have to be drug kicking and screaming. Well, I think that 2.1 is going to drag the people in our industry that are still pulling Cat 5, kicking and screaming into the proper cable categories to pull. And you know what? So be it. I think it's a great idea. So if anybody's watching this and you want to really look it up, look up Fiber Technologies, look up, that's not a company, just look up fiber technology in general. Look up what's coming. And I think that that's going to be the exciting thing. CEDIA 2019 will be more about fiber optic connectivity and the things surrounding devices than it will be the actual devices themselves.
Very good. All right. Next, and as I said, we're really kind of leading into this. This is a story that comes to us from Residential Systems. CES showed video technology on the cusp. This is from Michael Heiss. If you don't know who Michael Heiss is, he might be the only person I have ever met who actually owns a suit jacket made out of SMPTE sample and color bars. It's very, very fancy. I kind of want one. But I'm not going to read this entire thing to you. I'm going to hit some highlights as far as what was shown. And, you know, leading to Stephen's point, there was a lot of new technology shown. There was a lot of 4K to 8K. There was a lot of OLED and new technologies like Sony's new massive 1,000-nit living room product, as well as Samsung's The Wall and LG's retractable rolling screen, all kinds of craziness. And Stephen, I am going to come back to you on this real quick. The biggest thing that I wonder about when I see this is how much of this is vaporware?
Actually, I think most of it's not vaporware. I think that all these ideas are viable ideas that we've been seeing for a while. I think the days of vaporware and imaginations have been outpaced by what technology is capable of. You know, I remember the day of seeing, oh, this will happen in 2 years. And now manufacturers, you'll see at a board meeting, somebody said something and 6 months later, R&D is pushing it out. And then you see it at CEDIA. The technology has outpaced our imagination so much that I just don't know if any of this is vaporware. I mean, roll up TV, that's easy. Right now they have the film that you can wrap a column with for digital signage. Mm-hmm. It's really not. All of this stuff is there. We're on the cusp of so many amazing things. And just like I've said in the past, the things that are going to put us over the top, the things that are currently vaporware are true voice recognition, true speech patterns. Mm-hmm. As soon as we accomplish true speech pattern voice recognition, we're there. That's currently vaporware. But things like hardware, I can't seem to find a limit. Every time somebody says, it'd be cool if we did this, you do a Google search and somebody's doing it. And especially when it comes to video, not to harp on Sony, but I mean, these guys are just amazing. They figured out that if you can't beat them, buy them. And now they're using LG panels and putting Sony processing, and holy crap, could you even, I mean, that's like the holy grail.
There goes his battery. Frank, I am going to flip over to you on this one as well. When we look at some of these products that are being shown, and obviously nothing's necessarily going to ship tomorrow or anything like that. We kind of expect that. But with the huge advancements in video technologies, whether it be 4K, whether it be 8K, whether it be roll-up panels, whether it be, massive behemoth display systems, at what point do we actually begin to see these not only roll out, but more importantly, roll out and become slightly affordable? And by slightly, I mean not that person who has 18 jets and 4 homes.
Well, it really varies on the product that's being demonstrated. So, and it depends on how you define vaporware. So, for example, 8K is a known technical specification.
Mm-hmm.
It will be here. Exactly when it will be here in a commercially viable, affordable, mass market way, that's not really known yet. What you saw at CES was real technology demonstrations of technology that exists, that is defined, that will be coming in the future. What you didn't see is, when will it be here in mass? When will it replace 4K? When will it be affordable? What will the assortments be? Who will be the player in the market? That's still a few years down the road, but it's coming. There's no question about it. Other things, roll-up TVs. Production-wise, I don't know how producible they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been an issue with OLED, for example. OLED TVs introduced 6-7 years ago now, but it's just now where they're becoming manufacturable efficiently enough to bring the price points down to something that people would be willing to pay for. And you see LG, Sony, others expanding the lines and lowering the price points of an OLED television. So 8K will follow a similar curve. Now, I can't tell you if that's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 6 years. I just don't know. But I know it'll be here in the future.
When you look at the rollout, what is, and you've obviously been in this channel for quite a while, you have a vast experience of dealing with integrators. How do integrators deal with clients who see this and get super excited and want to, come to you and complain about, hey, where's my 8K display?
Well, my advice to integrators, and it's been the same over the years, is stick with things that work. Technology goes through cycles. New technologies at the beginning frequently have some bugs, then they become proven, and it's best if an integrator doesn't get too far out on the curve where they get exposed to deliver something that may not work. And they should stick with proven technologies until such time as new technologies are frankly ready. And what I would advise an integrator is, if he's got a customer that says, I need an 8K TV, that there really aren't any commercial 8K TVs available now. 4K TV would be the way to go. And at some point in the future, we've designed your system, sir, so that we can upgrade. And that's the way I would handle it, or advise that an integrator handles it. I wouldn't get too far ahead of the curve, because there's no advantage to be there, and there's a lot of downside liability should something go in before it's time and it breaks or doesn't work, and that could end in a lawsuit, or just not ever being able to deliver one of these systems and collect the check, and that would put an integrator out of business. So they're best advised to stick to what's introduced and works and is reliable.
Very good. Very sound advice. All right, sir, thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to wrap up. If people want to connect with you or get more information from Sony, where can they do that?
Well, the best way is via email, frank.stearns, STERNS, @sony.com.
Very good. The other person that joined us on the majority of this call till his battery died was our good friend Stephen Bronner. You can find him on Twitter at @ProAudio_GA. That's ProAudio_GA. For myself, you can find me on Twitter and pretty much every other social platform at Matt D. Scott. But more More importantly, please stop by AVNation.tv. You'll find this show as well as a wide variety of our other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our underwriters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you support them as well. Thanks again for joining us. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.